December 8th, 2023. Location, downtown Seattle. Weather, partly cloudy and no chance of rain. This whole week it's been raining and the sun finally broke through. When the sun's out in Seattle, that's when you take the opportunity to go outside. However, I still have to take some precautions because Seattle weather can be a little temperamental. The lens I attached to my X-Pro3 is the Fujifilm XF 35mm. It's very lightweight and it's weather resistant. It's a perfect lens for walking around in a rainy city. I started this walk over at Capitol Hill. My plan was to shoot in that neighborhood and then walk along Pike Street all the way down to Pike Place Market. Unfortunately, Cap Hill was kind of dead at that time and not too much caught my attention. It was a Friday afternoon, but most of the activity probably wasn't going to show up until later on that evening. And unfortunately, I only had so much sunlight to work with, so I had to get moving. Now my intent was to just do a straight shot along Pike Street, but my curiosity got to me. I decided to take a detour through Freeway Park, which is above the convention center along Pike Street. It was mostly empty, but it had a very interesting concrete look to it. I didn't really find much to shoot, but it gave me some ideas for future sessions. From the Freeway Park, I was able to cross under the convention center arch. This would eventually get me back onto Pike Street. I probably walked like another block or two before my instincts kicked in and I decided to detour off of Pike Street and go over to Pine Street instead. With the time of day, my instincts were just telling me go over to Pine Street because that's going to have a little bit more activity going on. Pine Street has a little bit more activity because it has a lot more shops. Plus there was Westlake Center with their holiday light display.
It's here. Can you feel it? This whole room. Everything is in color. And
my lens choice wasn't purely dictated just for the weather logistics. There was also a little bit of a personal creative challenge behind it. The X-Pro3 is a crop sensor, so my 35mm lens is actually closer to a 52mm on the X-Pro3 body. And for me, someone who likes a 35mm focal length, it's gonna be pretty tight. And with the tighter focal length, this will force me to be a little bit more mindful with my framing. The other challenge I brought on myself was to keep my camera actually in hand or within chin level. This way, if I saw something I wanted to take a photo of, I would at least get something close to eye level, or I don't draw too much attention to myself when I raise my camera from my chest to my eye.
Let him get to my brain. Look, heart rate change when I speak on my pain. First kiss wasn't bites, we was lost in the rain. Stole from family members, I was feeling ashamed. Hey, started living life like I had nothing to gain. Phone snatchers, fucking might go hop on the train. Counting all my blessings off the words, now we getting on planes. From remind me about the funny shit I say, but ain't got the memory I smoked.
I took a quick coffee break and decided to head down to Pike Place Market. Now at this point, all the sunlight was gone, so I had to change my camera settings. Now usually I like to shoot at an f8 and have an auto ISO setting that maxes out at 6400, Now in low light settings, I usually open the aperture to about a 3.2, and then I have an auto ISO setting that maxes out beyond 6400. Now the images do come out a little grainy, but it doesn't really bother me too much. I trust my camera enough that if I expose it pretty well, then I can recover it a little bit in Lightroom. Now across the street from Pike Place, there was an actual ceasefire protest going on. Now while scouting out the demonstration, I managed to capture enough photos to get the story across of what's happening while not being too invasive on the protesters. I didn't feel too out of place because there were a lot of photographers around. I mean, I actually knew a couple of the guys there.
What's up? What are you doing? Same thing. You stumbled in. Yeah, same with us.
And with the final leg of the walk, I looped back through Pike Place Market, mainly to get the vendors cleaning up and to find any visitors who might be getting a late night snack or something. Again, I still had to keep a very open aperture, but for the most part, the images came out pretty well. But I would say overall that I got a pretty good amount of shots that I'm very happy with. As far as my challenge of using a tighter focal length, I think overall it was like maybe 50-50. I do know for a fact I gotta get closer to my subjects, but the strategy of keeping the camera directly in hand, I just felt more at ease at putting the camera to my eye or just holding it, and it didn't feel like a burden. But in the end, I enjoyed the walk, and I think that's all that matters.